Hello, everyone, and welcome. I've got Karyn Greenstreet here today with us. I interviewed Karyn about 4 years ago on Mastermind Groups. I bought her workbook back in 2009. I did her Mastermind Facilitator training group maybe 4 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Anyway, I've been following you forever, Karyn, and I'm so happy to have you back to take us to the next level in Mastermind Groups.
Great.
So thank you so much for coming. Just to
Oh,
recap,
thanks.
just to recap, we did an episode called "Adding Mastermind Groups to Your Coaching Offer," and it's been one of the most popular, most watched episodes of all time in my podcast.
Oh,
So
great.
thank you so much for that. And it's just I refreshed my memory yesterday. It's so good. I just want to say we're not going to cover a lot of the basics that we covered in that one in this interview. So guys, if you're listening and you want to know some of the basics about mastermind, here's what we covered in that one. What's a mastermind? What is not a mastermind? How often do you meet? How often do you have hot seats? What's a good size for a mastermind? How to price a mastermind? What makes a great facilitator? What goes on behind the scenes? And then Karyn actually shared a little bit about her business philosophy, which we'll probably get into a little bit today too, because you can't not like get what's between the lines anyway. So if you're interested in those things, go and check out. We'll put a link to that episode in the show notes. So let's get into this one. This one's, we're in a new phase that this last time we spoke was way before COVID and pandemics and everybody jumping online. So virtual everything, virtual masterminds are a huge topic. So Karyn, let's just briefly set the scene with for people who are really, really new to masterminds, who founded masterminds, and why are they so transformational?
So the first mention of what was called a mastermind, 2 words, mastermind or mastermind alliance, is of course Napoleon Hill. And he wrote about it in several of his books, even starting way back before Think and Grow Rich. It was like 1928. And the principle is that when a group of people get together, they bounce off each other so much. It's almost like there's a third mind in the room. The mastermind is what he's calling it. And so then he started to say, famous people from ages and ages have all harnessed this principle in order to get to the next level in life. When you can just get so far on your own, and then you need a group of people to bounce ideas off of, to get quick solutions, to pick people's brains, and then also when you're a member of a group, you also give as well as you receive. So people join mastermind groups for that community and that solving of problems quickly and another set of eyes and ears on the decisions that they're making, and also the accountability piece of creating an action plan and getting into action and promising the group you're going to get something done and actually doing it. So I'm pretty sure that Napoleon Hill didn't quite have all of that in mind when he was talking about the mastermind, but we're talking almost 100 years ago. So it's morphed and changed.
Yeah.
So of course now we call it a mastermind group, not a mastermind alliance, but same difference. And people are using it for all kinds of different topics: small business leadership, executive masterminds. There's a woman I know who's doing it for people who are writing their first novel, people who are new managers, people who are new parents. People have taken this concept and really jumped with it. It's amazing.
Fantastic. Okay, I think that really sets the scene beautifully. So thank you for that. Let's look at how are people designing their mastermind groups these days, and how are they tying it to the other products that they're selling, specifically coaches, because that's the audience.
Okay,
here.
Sure. So let's just start with how they're tying it with what they're currently doing, because coaching in and of itself is a great profession. And a lot of times the small business owners who are coaches also do more. So as an example, there's a gentleman in one of my classes, and he is a coach. He coaches executives and he does one-on-one coaching with them. But he wants to do more with them, but he doesn't want to do more coaching with them because he's already doing one-on-one coaching with them. So he feels if he adds a mastermind group and brings his coaching clients together in a different format, as long as he's clear about the difference between group coaching and mastermind groups, that he can kind of elevate the conversation to a different level. And so he's taking facilitator training and learning how to do that, and learning how to have his coach hat on and his mastermind group hat on. Some coaches also teach classes. And when they're teaching a class, they want to support their students when they are implementing what they've learned. And so they maybe offer one-on-one coaching to them, but they also want to support them as a group of students all together. And so they offer a mastermind group in that context. So people are kind of mixing and matching mastermind groups in with the other things they're doing. Maybe they've written a book, or maybe they do mastermind groups for their colleagues, just as a free thing. They get a bunch of their colleagues together and do it. It's not always a paid thing. I'd say maybe 85% of mastermind groups are paid mastermind groups. It's an income source for the coaches. But there's plenty of them out there that they just gather a group of other coaches together and they just do it for free as a share and a give.
Mm-hmm. I've participated in both. Okay, I want to circle back to a couple of things. Can you just talk a little bit about the difference between, because coaches can might want to add a mastermind group into their offering, but then you said it's a little bit different and they need to be really clear about the difference between a mastermind versus a group coaching. Can you just talk a little bit about the differences there?
No, yeah, I'm talking about the ICF version of coaching, right? So let's just be clear about that. And in the ICF version of coaching, you can't be directive, you can't give advice, and you're really trying to pull the answers from within them. I mean, that's the goal, right? But in a mastermind group, we are giving advice, we are mentoring. And when I say we, I don't mean just me, the facilitator. I mean the whole group is helping each other. Sometimes they're coaching each other. They're asking coach-like questions, these insight and questions that pull information from the person. But sometimes they're saying, oh, you have this problem. This is how I solved it. Maybe that will help you. So the difference really is in the construct of group coaching, which often looks like you have a group of people around. The coach coaches one person while everybody else is watching, but those other people do not coach that person who is in the hot seat. In a mastermind group, the person's in the hot seat, everyone is jumping in to help. So it's a different kind of conversation with a different set of boundaries. It's more expanded. You can use coaching within a mastermind group, but a mastermind group and group coaching are two completely separate things. And as long as you're clear with your customer, your client, I'm offering group coaching and this is what that looks like, or I'm offering a mastermind group and this is what that looks like. That's really what you have to pay attention to when you're doing your marketing and having conversations with prospective clients.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this just before, but those lines can get pretty blurry in the coaching community. Yeah. People are calling themselves a coach and they're not quite, there might be a mentor, consultant, and those labels can get a little bit confused. So I really appreciate that distinction. Let's see. There was something else that you said.
Oh, the virtual thing?
Oh, yeah. We
want to talk about that now?
Yes. Let's do that.
Yeah. So, of course, before the pandemic, a good portion of mastermind groups met in person. I'd say 60% of them, if not more, maybe 70, 80. And of course, the pandemic hit and then we all had to scramble and figure out what to do. Now, my people in my mastermind group have always been worldwide. So I've always had to do them remotely. I just had to way back when, like in 2001, 2002, I was doing them through teleconferences. That's how we did it. We all got on the phone, and then about 7 or 8 years ago, Zoom became prevalent and we hopped over and changed to Zoom. Well, once the pandemic started, all these folks who were doing in-person mastermind groups had to figure out how to convert them to a virtual one. And they were really concerned that it was, was it going to be the same? And in the end, when you get a group of people together, and if the facilitator knows what they're doing, it is the same. It's the same experience. Yes, you're not having coffee with them on the side and having a chit chat, but you can do that anytime you want. You can reach out to your other mastermind group member and set up a virtual coffee. Yeah. But what people found was it was really easy to convert that, and that their members who originally might have been a little resistant just got on board because they had to. And then they found they actually enjoyed it. And now, of course, you hear everything's virtual. You got telemedicine, you've got virtual psychologists, you've got virtual organizers, you've got virtual interior designers. We've just figured out how to adapt. We've all had to do it. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting once everyone's got vaccines or whatever, and the pandemic eases, will people go back to in-person mastermind groups, or will they say, wait, it's super convenient to not have to drive to the meeting. I can come and keep doing virtual. I don't know what will happen. We'll see the next year or so which direction we end up in.
That saying, what, it takes 21 days to form a new behavior, a new habit.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in pandemic and lockdown for way more than 21 days. So I reckon the new
yeah.
habits have been formed, and the
I
whole
think so.
working from home and virtual, I think it's here to stay. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
there's very much of a situation where we've gotten used to this. There might feel like some boundaries, and we don't particularly like not being able to do things. And so once things ease up, we'll go and do those things again. But they were talking even in retail that they actually expect, like, this will probably be the end of department stores, because people have gotten over this past year or so used to shopping online and the convenience of that. That why would they want to go to the mall, other than to walk around and have something to do, but they don't need to go to the mall now. And so we've changed our behaviors in all of our life. My 80-year-old mother is doing Zoom. I mean, come on.
How cool is that? Yeah, my in-laws
Yeah.
finally did it too.
I know. And
we all use
it.
WhatsApp. We love it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You get way more pictures and everything. Yeah.
Isn't that fun?
Yes. Okay. So the future of virtual spaces, I think, and mastermind groups, they're here to stay. I mean, you do get that sense of community, you get a sense of connection, and it's right from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to leave. It's zero environmental impact practically. So
yeah.
I think it's, I mean, as far as, a coach thinking about how to extend your offer, to me, it seems like a no-brainer, an extension.
And it matches perfectly if you're also doing virtual classes and doing virtual speaking events like this and doing other virtual things. You're reaching a larger audience. So if you then say, oh, well, my mastermind group meets in Wisconsin, well, all those people from everywhere that's not Wisconsin can't come to your meeting. And so over the past year, coaches have expanded their reach into different regions. Now they almost can't do a lot of stuff in person because they have a subset of people who aren't local anymore.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. It stretches us, makes us grow.
It's expansive for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We've talked about what are the best ways to market and to actually sell a mastermind group? And I know it's one thing to have this great idea and have a vision, but then when it comes down to actually getting people to join and articulating what it is, like, are people out there, the general public, clear on what a mastermind is? Do they want to join? Is there a big education process that needs to happen? What are you finding in this space?
So it's one of those, it depends answers. So
there's not a silver bullet, Karyn.
Yeah. People say to me, oh, my audience doesn't know what a mastermind group is. I'm like, I get 85,000 people a year who type in mastermind group into Google and find my website. So it's not like people don't know what a mastermind group is because they're typing it into Google, So I do know that they know that. And a lot of like small business owners tend to know what a mastermind group is because they've heard of it through other mentors who say, oh, I'm part of a mastermind group, or you need to be part of a mastermind group. And so they hear about it and they Google it. Some areas, some geographic areas don't know what a mastermind group is. So I had a woman in Greece in my facilitator training last month, and she said, it's almost unheard of here in Greece. And I said, okay, then you are going to have to do some education. So the first thing I would encourage a coach to do is Google mastermind group plus like your location, mastermind group Greece or mastermind group Australia, and see what comes up to see if it's being talked about in your local area at all. If not, then yes, you're going to have to say to them, this is what a mastermind group is. And so I encourage them to maybe write blog posts about what a mastermind group is, or do a little video, or do a webinar or something to educate people. So I think there's a little education piece, because you also need to make sure that you're clear what a mastermind group is, because there are some mentors and teachers these days that are doing something called a mastermind event, which is actually like a weekend workshop, but they're calling it a mastermind event, and it's confusing people a little bit. I was laughing. I told my husband, I said, this year, my only job is to go out into the world and tell people what a mastermind group is and what a mastermind event is, and that they're different. So that's my message,
Here today we're getting
So it's easy enough to explain to your audience what a mastermind group is, so that you can do that. People can do that. The question is first of all, as a coach, do you have an audience who knows who you are? And this is true of any business owner, not just a coach. So don't panic if you're a coach and people don't know who you are. You have to be able to get out in front of your audience. So if you're at that place where you don't even know how to get out in front of your audience, then you need to put together a marketing plan, because you've got a bigger problem, which is you need to learn how to do marketing and reach your audience and communicate with them. If you do have an audience, if you already have a mailing list or you have a bunch of followers on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, then it's a matter of finding those people who might be interested. So you start talking about, I'm thinking about putting together a mastermind group. Here's what it is. What do you guys think about this? And start having conversations with them. And then if you're in the third group, which is you have an audience and you already have paying clients, communicate with your paying clients, communicate with your colleagues, communicate with people who've expressed interest in working with you, students you've had in previous classes, and say to them, I want to put together a mastermind group around X topic, whatever topic your group's going to be for. And I'd love to talk with you about it. And so it just kind of depends where you are in that marketing ladder. Are you just starting out and you don't even know how to reach your audience? Or do you have an audience, but they haven't really bought from you much yet, or they have bought from you? Of course, if they've bought from you, that's easy. You just reach out to the people who are already customers. And then, as you progress up that ladder to the people who don't have any marketing in place, that's a little bit more complicated. And you have to figure out, what are my offers and how do they tie together? I'm a coach and I teach a class and I want a mastermind group, or I'm a coach and a professional speaker and I've written a book. What are the offers you have? And then what is the marketing plan around all of that to make a holistic marketing plan that's going to work together, instead of selling 3 separate offers. You're really selling your whole system and your whole way of seeing the world.
Yeah. I like to call that your chocolate box. One of my mentors used that term. It's like your chocolate box, and you design your perfect chocolate box for your coaching business.
Oh, I like
mastermind.
It's
got some one-on-one. It's got some training.
That's fun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you make it sound so easy, this 1, 2, 3. But for the people who are sitting here like, oh, wow. Okay. I get this. You've identified what level you're at. What are some of the benefits that they can start to talk to their clients about, that clients get from actually being a part of a mastermind?
Yeah. So it's interesting because, of course, everyone's attracted to a different benefit. So if you have kind of your list of benefits, then each person will say, well, oh, I love number 1 and number 7. And the other one says, oh, I love number 2 and number 5. So primarily what I'm seeing people tell me is what they're getting out of a mastermind group is, first of all, it's getting clarity around what your goal and your vision is and why you want it. What's valuable to you, what's important to you in life, and what are you trying to express through this goal? A lot of people don't know that. Some people do know that. Their next thing is that when they have a goal, how do they go about achieving it? What are the steps? And so they have to create an action plan. And as part of that action plan, they have to make a lot of decisions along the way. So it's help with creating strong action plans and making smart decisions. Sometimes they are great at making action plans, and as they start to implement, they bump into brick walls. They have problems. They don't know how to do something, or they have a whole bunch of ideas that are circling around in their head. They're like, I just need someone to talk to about this to make sure I'm making sense. I'm not nuts, right? I'm not crazy. So that piece of a mastermind group helps them with solving problems quickly, tapping into the experience and wisdom and brains of other people, getting good insights. And this is where, if you're a coach, you bring a little bit of your coaching tools to your mastermind group and you help them with the insight work and the clarity work and the decision-making work. And of course, as you can imagine, as you're implementing, there's also all those limiting beliefs that come up. And so coaching is perfect for that, right? And people love the accountability piece of it, that they want someone to hold their feet to the fire. And they're not looking for a replacement mommy or daddy. They're just looking for a group of people that understand what they want out of life and are supportive of them as they try to achieve it. So a mastermind group is made up of peers. It's made up of people who are in a similar situation. They're all business owners. They're all writing their first novel, whatever it is, because those people understand what this process takes. And someone outside of that circle, even your own family, might not understand what it is you're trying to do in life and why it's so important to you and what it takes to get there. And so those are like the practical benefits. And then there's also an emotional one. It's this idea that you have a community, you have a tribe of people who get you, deeply get you, whereas maybe your family and friends don't. That you feel that they're there to support you and they've got your back, so that if something goes wrong, they're the first people you think of going to and say, okay, I tried this and this is where it blew up and this is where it worked fine. How do I fix the part that blew up? And so knowing you have that community and you're surrounded by these people who are all trying to reach their goals, just like you're trying to reach your goals, and how you're helping and supporting each other. So people don't join mastermind groups if they don't want to be connected to these other people. And they don't join mastermind groups if they're selfish, because in a mastermind group, you are asked to give help as much as you're asked to receive help. So if you like to help other people and you also need help in return, it's the perfect, it's like the best thing since sliced bread, because it's this home away from home.
I love that. That's actually a really great transition into the next question, which is, how do you, as the facilitator of a mastermind group and the coordinator, the convener, how do you choose really great members? How do you interview and I guess allow in the right people and make sure
right.
the wrong people don't get in?
Well, yes, exactly. So we're not,
right?
Most of us are not trained psychologists. So I don't know that we can psychoanalyze people and figure it out, but we do understand, especially as coaches, we understand that people have different styles. They have different learning styles. They have different thinking styles. They have different processing styles. They have different sets of beliefs. They have different strengths and weaknesses. So what we're actually looking for, we're not looking for the perfect person, because everyone has strengths and weaknesses. What we're looking for is a group of people that one person's weakness is the other person's strength, and they can help each other. So that way they are sharing. And there was a woman once who was joining a mastermind group. The other 4 people in the mastermind group were seasoned business owners. She was a chair at a college, a medical school. She's an MD, and she didn't have any business background, but she brought 20 years of executive leadership skills to the group. So she was a perfect fit because they didn't have that. They didn't know how to hire and fire. They didn't know how to work with a team. They just knew how to run a business. So it was this perfect fit. So when you're looking for people to join your mastermind group, you need to be thinking about, well, what are the components that I would like to bring forward to this group? What are the skills that these folks need to have? And if one person doesn't have that, does another person have it? And then, of course, you're looking for people who have a positive attitude. A mastermind group is not a place, zero option of people coming to every meeting complaining about how the world is treating them badly. Yes, sometimes bad things happen in the world. Sometimes really bad things happen in the world. But we're looking for people who have a bad day and then say, okay, what am I going to do to fix this?
Yeah.
And so attitude is almost as much as skill is important. So you really are looking for people who are positive, who are doers rather than just talking about it. So like when you're interviewing someone for a mastermind group, say, well, tell me about a problem that you had recently. And then what did you do about it? How did you work it out? To see whether they thought through it, whether they took action on it, or whether they just got stuck and they never figured it out. As coaches, we know when people are stuck, we can help to get them unstuck. So it's not such a bad thing. But if they're constantly stuck for like 10 years, you're like, this is a repeated habit. And I really would probably need to work with that person one-on-one and do coaching with them to help them fix that problem and then bring them into the mastermind group.
Yeah.
We all get stuck from time to time. But if you're seeing that it's a habit, or worse, if you're seeing every time they get stuck, they always blame someone outside of their own self. It's always someone else's fault. It's, the world's fault. It's never my fault. That's a problem. That's a habitual way of thinking, that you're the victim and the world treats you badly. So we're looking for people who take responsibility, who own their situation. And we know sometimes situations do happen that you had no control over. But do you then say, okay, I have a problem. I need to solve it. I need to move forward on it.
Okay, so we're looking for members. They need to have complementary skills, a positive attitude, and really take personal responsibility, no matter what life throws at them.
And then that's what we want in coaching clients, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want that same kind of person that, that they are self-defining and they are whole within themselves, and they take responsibility for life. I mean, would you really want a coaching client who just came to you and every week when you talk to them, all they said was, well, my husband did this, and then my son did this, and then the government did this, and then the neighbor down the street? You're like, what about what you were doing? What about what you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think from memory, do you have an interview questionnaire, don't you, in your workbook for your facilitator training? There's a set of questions.
Yeah, you come up with a set of questions, and everyone's going to be different. But I ask them, tell me a little bit about your situation, because I need to know if they are a good fit. So if I'm doing a mastermind group for new business owners, I need to know, are you a new business owner? I ask them, what are some of the problems that are coming up for you that you're working on right now? I want to know if it fits with the other things that other people are working on. And then, of course, I ask them, why do you want to join a mastermind group? Good question, right? Just like you would ask someone, why do you want coaching? What is it about coaching that's attractive to you? And then what are you bringing to the group? What are you bringing to the mastermind group? Because it is about giving as well as receiving. So what do you think your superpowers are that you'd like to share with the group? So those kind of questions I think are really helpful, so you can see whether they're a good fit. I also ask them what their goals are, because I want to know that what they're trying to create is in some sort of a balance with what other people are wanting creating. So if I have a person, they've been a business owner and they want to take their business from 100,000 to 250,000. I have another one, 5 years in business. They want to take their business from 100,000 to 20 million. It's two different business designs, and I don't think that they would work correctly together. So knowing their goals tells you whether they're similar enough that their paths will be similar.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about, you kind of touched on it there with, your goals to take your business to a certain dollar amount. When you're marketing your mastermind, you're recruiting for it, you have a duty of care, and you might have a promise that you're delivering. And at the end of the day, if it's just purely the mastermind and it's not linked in with other trainings and one-on-one coachings and so on, what can you really promise as a facilitator that people will get out of a mastermind, given that it's a lot of what they give and choose to receive?
Sure. And that's true of coaching and consulting. You can give people the best advice, you can teach them the best things, but unless they use it and unless they solve their problems, they're not going to get the results they want. So you cannot promise with any of these things. You can't even promise in a class that you will, when you're done with this class, you will walk away and you'll make $10 million. It's just not possible, because it's so much on them to do the things they need to do to make that $10 million. So what you can promise them in a mastermind group, just like in coaching, is it's going to be a supportive experience. You're going to get a lot of ideas. You're going to get clarity on your goals, clarity on your decisions. You're going to get your eyes open to your blind spots and the places where you have biases and you have limiting beliefs that are holding you back. I mean, these are the kind of things you can promise. You're going to walk away with an action plan. You're going to be supported through that action plan. We're going to help you make the best decisions as possible, but we're not going to force you to make the decisions that we think you should make. We're going to let you be you. And if you bump into a brick wall, we're going to be there to help you when that happens. And that's probably the most you can't guarantee anything, because so much relies upon the client doing their portion.
Yeah. I love it.
So I'm laughing because I'm thinking about these events, and they say, 10x your business. We guarantee you'll 10x your business. I'm like, you can only guarantee that if you can control their business, and you can't.
You can't.
You're not their boss, and you're not the CEO of their company. They are.
Yeah, well, it's a concept that I've been exploring a lot in the coaching relationship and the guru model. This sort of codependent or kind of bossy, you got to do it like this, versus a more nurturing opportunity, a guide that empowers you to make your best decisions and just gives you that third mind to tap into.
Yeah, that word empower, I think, is crucial, both in coaching and in mastermind groups. And that is, I believe my clients, my mastermind group members, are grown-up adults. I am empowering them with knowledge and skills and wisdom and insight that they will not just use for the project they're working on. They're going to use in every place in their life. So when they graduate from my mastermind group, they're at a better place than when they started. Yeah. And I trust them that whatever path they choose to get to their goal is the right path for them, even if it's not the path that I would choose for myself. That they're grown-ups and they can get to make that choice. I have to learn to be flexible and accept people the way for how they want to lead their life, not the way I think they should. So this whole model of, do my process only works if everybody's the same, and they're not all the same. There are 100 marketing techniques. Why do you think there's 100 marketing techniques? Because there are marketing techniques that work really well for a particular personality style of the business owner. And there's marketing techniques that are resonant with certain audiences. And so I wouldn't say to you, you have to use YouTube marketing because that's the way to do it. If you don't use YouTube marketing, you're a bad person. If you're not a YouTube person or a video person, don't do it. There's 100 marketing techniques. Find the one that works for you. I feel the same way about mastermind groups. There are a million paths to the same goal, and people need to do it their own way. And my only problem is when they don't do the work. When they say, I want this goal, and they create an action plan, and then they just sit on it. And I'm like, okay, you can't be part of the mastermind group because we are about moving forward, and you're not moving forward. You're not willing to do that. You're stuck in some way, and we need to work privately, or you need to hire a coach. So I don't do one-on-one work anymore with people. I only do mastermind groups. So I send out when someone wants coaching or consulting, I send them to somebody else.
All right. Referrals are actually, it's a whole nother topic. We'll save that for another day. I've been posting stuff on referrals in my Facebook group for Coach Changemakers. Anyway, that's another thing. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything you want to say specifically about the importance of accountability in a group?
Yeah, I think there's a real crux there. Not every mastermind group has a big accountability piece to it. It's very much on a continuum. So some mastermind groups, they don't do accountability at all. You may not even say what your action plans are. It's all about talking about the topic you want to talk about in the meeting, and that's it. Others are extremely on the other side. It is totally about productivity and getting things done. You have to check in like every morning with them to say, this is what I'm working on today, for people who need that strong support. And then of course, there's everything in between. In my mastermind groups, in each meeting, I ask them, what are you going to be working on between now and the next meeting, which is a month away? And it gives them that place to kind of carve out of their day to stop and say, what is most important for me to get done this month? Just, I call it putting on your CEO hat, taking time to step away from the world and be more strategic. Then about 2 weeks later, I email them, say, how's it going? So there's that little piece of accountability. And then the next meeting I say, well, how did you do in the end? And my people seem to feel like that's just the right amount. But I do know other people say, no, I want more. I want to check in every week, or I want an accountability partner, or I want to check in every day, or, whatever. So that's the thing about mastermind groups, is they're extremely flexible, and you can put that accountability piece where you want it. I feel that no matter who you are, telling the world what you're going to work on, what you promise to get done, strengthens your resolve to do that. They often say this like in weight loss programs. You have to verbally tell the group, this is what I'm doing. This is the amount of weight I want to lose. This is how I'm doing this week, because it strengthens your resolve to get that done. You don't want to let the group down, and you don't want to come in and say, oh, I totally blew it, But sometimes you do blow it, and the group has to be supportive when that happens. If something doesn't work quite right, and you promise you're going to get something done and it doesn't get done, they just want to hear, so what happened? I really was going to redesign my website this month, and what? Well, and then my father got sick, and then, the dog was shedding all over the place and became bald, and, whatever, so
that was a bit of a random example.
Yeah,
I love it.
You never know what's going to come out of my mouth, So, but the idea is sometimes things do get in the way that you don't really have control over, but we as the group want to hear that, because if we hear that next month you didn't do the website, the month after that you didn't do the website, now we're going to start asking harder questions than is your dog shedding. We're like, that's odd that you haven't touched this in 3 months. Tell me what's going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like good
So
old
holding
coaching
that
question.
space. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I do believe that people need a little bit of accountability just to kind of help them get organized with their thoughts about what are the next steps to take.
Yeah, yeah. I have a group of women, and we, every new moon, we sort of set an intention. And one of my friends was very proactive with that. And I was like, what is my intention? I reflected on last month, and I really wanted to see, who do I want to be be my
Yeah.
best and fullest self. So
Yeah.
play came up for me. I know it's more
Fun.
of a state of being, but yes, I've got my pink, they're very fluorescent. You can't really tell in this light. That's just my visual cue. Like, oh yeah, play.
Play, right. Okay, got it.
Remember, don't be so serious all the time. So intention. I mean, and it really did. Just voicing it to those four women, really has held me accountable, just in the back of my mind, because people I love, and I know, they're looking. It's great. Okay, Karyn, how can people learn how to be a mastermind facilitator?
Well, as you can imagine, I offer facilitator training. I offer it 3 or 4 times a year. And we talk about all of the skills that you need and all these little details about running meetings and so forth. And in the live version of my class, the one that I run live 3 or 4 times a year through Zoom, right? We do practice sessions so people can get used to doing those hot seats and being the facilitator. But I also have an online version of that. So if you're like you're in Australia and the time zones in America don't work, then they can take the online version, and that's fine as well. And then I have a different class, which is all about how to design and market and fill a mastermind group. So one class is all about everything you do before you have members, and then the other class is everything you do after you have members.
Yeah. Okay. And how can people go and find that? What's the best place to go to?
Right. So I have a whole website about mastermind groups. It has all kinds of free video tutorials. It has a huge blog full of information about mastermind groups and how to run them and how to pick people and how to price it and all that other stuff. That's at thesuccessalliance.com, thesuccessalliance.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes of this too.
Excellent.
So you can go
Thanks
and check that out. And I mean, you have been building this for, I don't know, 20 years, like a long time.
I look back, I wrote my first article about mastermind groups in 2002.
Wow.
And it's been shared something like 75,000 times. It's amazing.
Wow. But you give so much away for free. You're so generous. It's very, articulate and detailed and high quality. So I think that's why I just kept, I followed you ever since then, and I still am, and very few people, very few people are still on my list after that long. I can tell you. I'm like, Okay. So now we've got a couple, this is our bonus section where we kind of get to know the with some more personal questions. So here, are you ready to deep dive into
the
bonus questions? Okay. What is your number one advice for coaches today?
I think that for coaches, first of all, people tell me it's really hard to market coaching because people don't quite understand what it is. And so even from the very beginning, I mean, I took coach training back in the 1990s. From the very beginning, we thought about, you have to offer them a free session to experience it. And I actually think that's still true, that a lot of people don't know what coaching is, and they misunderstand what it is because so many people are calling themselves coaches and they're not like ICF type coaches, right? So my advice to coaches is to get out in front of people as often as you can and invite them to that free meeting. And I know they've been told that a million times, and it is time consuming, but there's no reason why you can't do that in a group setting. I can remember I belong to the Philadelphia ICF chapter. I can remember being at a meeting. There was probably 100 of us in the room, and in the center were 2 people doing a coaching demonstration. So you don't have to do it just one-on-one. Invite your audience to a coaching demonstration and show them, maybe you coach 2 or 3 different people about how that process works. So that's the best advice, because you need to educate them about coaching. And then, of course, if you want to expand your business beyond coaching, then think about, what are my offers and how do those offers tie together, not just from your perspective, but from your client's perspective. What is the first thing you offer them, and what is the next natural product or service that they would want? And then that way you have a tight core set of offerings that mean that you can sell more to the same clients. They buy your book, and then they take your class, and then they do one-on-one coaching with you, and then they join your mastermind group. And it's just this natural progression. I think too often we design our products and services in these little silos, but they don't connect with each other. And then we can't figure out why it's so hard to market, because you're actually marketing almost like 4 different businesses.
Yeah.
Instead, be more holistic about it.
Yeah, that's nice. I love that word just in general, holistic. Okay, next. What is your definition of success?
Well, for me, it's number one, being at peace with myself and being at peace with everything that's going on around me, even when it's crazy, you know? And so for me, a successful life is that I'm connected to my core in a very peaceful way, even when the earth underneath my feet is shaking. Mm-hmm. Of course, my definition of success is also that I have family and friends around me, to share love, to share community, and that I want to be in their presence as much as I can. Last time I saw my parents was the last warm day in November, and then I haven't seen them all winter. So we're praying for some warm weather. I've had my vaccine, so I'm cool, and they're getting theirs now. So we should be able to visit real soon. But just having that connection, because I find that's also really at my core. And then for me, on the work side, it's having work that fulfills me as a human being and fulfills my deepest desire. My deepest desire is to empower people. And so everything I do is about helping people to create a better life, whatever that looks like for them, business life, personal life. And if I can do that until the day I die, that'd be great. And whether I do it one-on-one with like my niece and nephew, or if I'm doing it in a room of 1,000 people, it's that is the center of what I am on this planet.
Thank you. Great. I love that question. What are you grateful for, Karyn?
Well, I'm grateful for people like you who have followed me for all these years. You're such a good sport.
You deserve it.
Sometimes I swear I'm just grateful I'm upright and breathing. You know, I mean, some days are really tough, right? I think I'm grateful for the opportunity as a human being, a spiritual being in a human body, to experience all of this in all of its madness and glory. And I am constantly in awe of life. And I mean that with the big capital F, life. Like, look at all of this. Look at how nature works. Look how people work. Look how animals act. I'm fascinated by life and how we're just born into it and experience it. And then we die. And it's like, what was that? And so I just love like exploring that. And what does that mean? You know?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Last question. If you could only share 3 truths about life with your nearest and dearest, what would they be?
Number one, it goes way faster than you think it's going to go.
That's so true.
Way faster. So if you're like in your 20s and 30s and think you have a lot of time, please do not hesitate to say, well, I'll do that later. Don't do it now, because there might not be a later, and later is going to come way faster than you think it's going to come. And I know when you tell somebody in their 20s that, I didn't listen to my mom, but she told me. But now that I'm inching up there, I'm like, yeah, it goes really fast. Yeah. So that's got to be the number one secret, is that. I think the number 2 secret has to be to discover as much as you can why you think you were put on this planet. And for me, the answer to that is try something. If you're not sure what the meaning of it all is, just pick a few things you're going to explore, go down those paths and see if the doors keep opening. If the doors keep opening, keep walking. If they don't, be like, okay, that's not why I'm on the planet. Next. And you move on. Because I probably didn't know that until I was in my 30s. I think I started coach training when I was maybe 27, 28, something like that. And through coaching, I think I began to discover that ever since that moment, everything gelled, everything came together. It was like all these little pieces just snapped into place. And I was like, I get it. And I could move forward so quickly and with such confidence and assurance because I understood what I was doing here. So whatever you need to do in life to figure that out, I don't think that's much of an intellectual exercise or in your head exercise. It's a do something and see what happens exercise. And I think that's a different kind of advice than most people give.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, very much resonates with me too. I think I was about 10 years behind you. I couldn't figure that out until my 40s, but that's okay. All in good time.
Well, and I think maybe when I was in my 20s, your brain isn't really fully formed. So your decision-making skills are not the best.
Yeah. But following that flow and that when doors open, I really love that. And then just trying things and experiencing them, because then rather you can sit down and write the biggest 10-year strategic plan, but it's all just from here, and there's no kind of felt embodied connection. Coming back to that holistic.
And we're given our intellect, we're given our emotions, we're given our spirituality, and we're given our intuition. And if you can use all four of those, when you're like, well, should I go down this path? It's like, check in with your head. What's the logic of it? How does it feel in your heart? And then how does it feel in your gut? And then what is your spirit saying? And then, to me, it's sort of like, it's like a voting committee. So if my head says no, but the other three say yes, I'm probably going to do it. If they all say no, I'm like, really? Because I really want to.
I know that one.
Because the fact is that one of the things you learn at some point in your life is how to let go, how the best laid plans can go bad, how life's going to throw curveballs at you, good and bad. Sometimes unexpected opportunities are going to come up. And if you are so fixated on things being a certain way that when they change, you're like, they cannot change. It's like, wait a minute, if you just let go and relax into the change, it just becomes easier. So that whole, often I'll walk around going, just let go, don't bite. Something crazy would happen, don't bite on it, just let it go, let go. And it's not a denial, it's more of a be okay with what is instead of what you think it should be. At the same time, we are all trying to create our success in life, whatever that is for each person. And that means that what is not where we want it to be, but we're moving towards that. But can you be okay with the way things are right now and also want that thing for the future? And when you find that balance, you're superhuman. You could do anything.
Yes, it sounds so easy, and yet finding that balance, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
You always have to navigate it with so much consciousness every moment.
I don't have it every day. Some days I bite and I go wacko and be like, why is this world happening this way? But then I calm down.
Oh, I love it. Well, was that your tip 3, or did you have another one as well?
No, I think tip 3 is probably tip 3 is probably let go and learn to accept what is instead of forcing it to remain the way it's always been if it's changing.
Yeah.
And we all had to learn that at the beginning of the pandemic. In the beginning I resisted. I was like, no, this isn't happening. It's like, okay, yeah, this is really happening. Now what? Yeah. Now I either accept it and navigate it as best as I can, or I fight against it tooth and nail. And I was happier because I accepted it and navigated it the best I could.
Yeah. Well, and when you're starting a new business, and particularly a new coaching business, I think I know when I first started, I pushed and I forced. I was like always trying to push something up a hill. Whereas now I have let go, to an extent, and I'm letting it kind of become and show and follow those open doors. And it didn't turn out that my business is quite a coaching business now. It's more of the services space holder for the coaching community, which I never could have predicted in the
that's
my wildest dreams.
Yes, but because when a door opened, you walked through, it evolved and you became what you were intended to become. But you can't always know that. The best you can do is set some goals and start moving towards them. Try something. Yeah. If the doors keep opening, keep walking. Be aware of opportunities that come your way and say, yes, I want to try that, or no, I don't think it's going to fulfill me. And then try it and then see if more doors open. And that's really the way we manifest and we become. I don't mean that you're just sitting around on the couch waiting for this manifestation to happen. You have to be taking action. That's why the try something part is important. That you're not just wishing, that you're actually doing and you're actively pursuing.
Well, sometimes you need that track record of the tryingness to become this next thing,
Yeah.
right? Like I needed to run a coaching business for 10 years and do
Yeah.
all the different things that I did so that I could be where I am now.
Yeah. I mean, asking to be like a gymnast, there are really tough days where you are trying your best and it is painful and it's difficult and you want to give up. So it's not like trying for a goal means you shouldn't feel any stress or any pain or any remorse or any, you know, I mean, those things are all going to be part of it, but that's the juicy part of life. If you're okay and just let go and say, okay, I'm feeling crappy today and it's painful and it's difficult and I'm working really hard. And just say, okay, and that's how I feel today. And that's just a natural part of me trying to grow and me trying to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. Thank you for that distinction. I think that's really important, that line between working hard and letting go. It can be misread, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, because, you know, it's easy to say, oh, well, I'm going to sit and wait for the world to deliver to me. And the opposite extreme is I'm going to work, 23 out of 24 hours a day to make this dream come true. And then there's a place in between where you find that equilibrium, that you find that you're putting forth the appropriate amount of effort. You're not goofing off, but you're also open to whatever the world is going to deliver for you.
Yeah, and holding that place of peace and connected to your core and your heart as well.
Yeah. And still when I'm not working with clients, I'm marketing, and I've been a business owner for 30 years. So, I mean, it's not like it goes away.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, Karyn, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you for next time. This time I think it's going to be sooner than 4 years.
Great. I hope so. Thanks for having me, Vinay.
Oh, thanks so much, Karyn. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.